In today's video, we are going to take a look at 6 different ways to make your synthesizer a bit more emotional. This is a special video because all the examples that we are taking will be from my own track that is released today. To make it even more special, I have created 10 of my favorite SERUM presets, 10 of my favorite Vital presets, and on top of that 10 of my favorite kicks, and put everything into a bundle. And if you buy my track on beatport and send the receipt to Hanna@mercurialtones.com, you will get the project file of this track, all the presets, all the SERUM and Vital presets, and all those kick samples.
Hello, this is BEBETTA, currently from Tulum. If you buy the remix on beatport, you get my Ableton files so that you can have a look deeper in the project for yourself.
I wanted to try to create a value to community while promoting my own track. I hope that it can be something useful for you as well. Let's take a snippet from the track so that you see what's coming. Number 1. Playing with the semitones. One of the easiest way to create this emotional progression with your pad sounds is actually playing with the semitones. So if you go to the scale and C minor, you will see that from E flat to D, we have a semitones chain inside the scale itself. A flat to G, the same thing, semi-half tone changes. What does that mean? For example, take a listen how this changes, how this sounds immediately more emotional. Do you see how this sounds like really dark but emotional at the same time? When you have chord progressions, you can abuse this technique a little bit. Take a look at 2 C minor chord progression. This is C, 3rd and 5th C minor chord. So here we have semitone change from A flat, G. And if we put this one octave up so that we open up the chord a little bit, let's take that G here, put it in the semitone up. This creates this really unresolved emotional feeling. And if we turn on the cutoff a little bit, do you see how deep and emotional ambience this creates? Number 2. Resetting your progression with unstable notes. I will take an example from the bass here. In our scale, C minor scale, we will have 3 stable notes. C, the first one, the most stable note, and the 3rd one, E flat, and the 5th one, G. And all the rest will be unstable. What does that mean? If you take a look at our bass progression, we have 4 different notes playing over and over again. The only thing that I'm doing is going back to the 1 octave down compared to the second 8 bars to make it like more 16 bar loop. The trick is actually, if you take a listen here, going up creates a bit more tension. That really unstable note here, A flat, creates a lot of tension, a lot of emotion, something that's not really complete. So if we instead, for example, went it to 5th, so stable note, it would have sounded like this. Right, it somehow feels more stronger, less emotional, unstable note at the end of this progression that can really create this kind of tension in your track. Number 3, using pinging notes. What is a pinging note? If you take a look at the vocal progression here, first of all, it looks quite dramatic, right? We have the bass progression. These are the same notes that we have seen in the bass. If I just turn these off, we just have a simple melody progression on top of that to contrast the bass progression that we have. So the reason that it's called pinging note, simply because it just pings all the time to create this kind of ambient hits. So take a listen how immediately the feel of the melody is changed with addition of the pinging notes. Four-note chord progression on the bass. Pinging note also has kind of a contrary progression, but only by 2 notes. We have here the G, and then we go down to the C. Creates this counter melody to make the ambience even more dramatic. You may say, why don't I hear the bass notes? Because these vocals are not going that deep. If you take a look at the same notes with the lead sound, this one is coming from my Moog 37, that's why reason that we are seeing the waveform. So here we have this like a noise layer, but the same progression. Take a listen how much it changes without the pinging notes here. It's not even having the half of the impact that we had before. This is also another way to create very strong emotions in your track. Number 4, creating contrasting melodies in your chord progression. This was actually something that I went more into the details in one of my tutorials. I will leave it here, so if you want to take a look a bit more in detail. Your chord progressions are actually really couple of melodies packed together. So you may have a bottom melody or top melody, and then you have in the middle stable melody to glue everything together. If you go to the chord progression in this path, turn this off, and I want you to take a look at what you are seeing here. This is exactly the same idea that we had the bass, right? It just goes up. On its own, it's a bit weak. We need something to contrast again the bass. So the first 4 notes, we are really just going down to balance these two together. It's not 4 notes or the 8 bars chord progression. This is actually the upper melody is actually 16 bar chord progression, because the last note is different. So what we are doing here, we have unstable G sharp and we stable C, so it creates kind of a drama, but it's not that strong. However, at the 18 bar we have D sharp and G sharp. Let's put it C minor. You see this half notes above, half notes above. We were talking this adding semitones. We are abusing it right here, and take a listen how this is even more dramatic than this one. So you may ask, why do we have this G notes at the beginning of the 8 bar? Because we are very unstable here and there. What I want to do is actually here adding one more stable note. We can give a bit more like, okay, this is the new beginning vibe at each 8 bars. Right? Okay, this is a new day, new beginning. So thinking about these counter melodies in your chord progressions can really help you to emphasize the emotions that you are going for in your chord progression. Number 5. Layering your progressions with additional timbres. Once you see this progression, you may think, but this is really a simple 2 notes kind of progression. Because you are making electronic dance music, you can actually use different timbres to add that emotions that you are going for. I want to make it a bit hopeful, so I figured out this patch here from Reaper, sounding very beautiful. Like the sun is shining, we are taking a look at the new beginnings, new day, right? But what I do here is actually I change the chord progression again to make it a bit more hopeful compared to the other chord progression that we have. This one had this darker vibe. When you add these two on top of each other, they complement each other, because we are going for 2 different contrasting feeling with 2 contrasting timbres. Listen here. Isn't this kind of almost magical how they can complement each other? Number 6. Finding the parts that reflects the emotion that you are going for. Try to create different melodies and try to listen to it afterwards. So for example, let's say we created something like this. We also have this variation. This one feels a bit too aggressive, but this one. So once you get something like this, something that really reflects the emotions that you are going for, resampling. Resampling basically means that you create a new audio channel and you go for the resampling solo channel that you are going for. Then you just record it so that you can cut the things, chop the things like you want afterward. Once you have done this, you can chop it the way you want, and you can actually also match the rhythms that you are going for. From there, we have this one. If we add a little bit effects on top of that, the things get really nice. Extremely beautiful ambience.
If you also like to see my workflow, check out the 4 Producers 1 sample session on this channel. So enjoy the track and hope to see you. Bye!